screen. All right, got it.
Okay, so now,
Click, got it.
okay, so now I'm going to share my screen.
All right. Okay, there we go.
All right.
Yeah, that looks better.
Oh, well, it's quite a busy week that followed another really busy week. Last week, I don't know about you, but I wasn't glad to see the back of it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It was holiday in Canada on Friday, and now we're gonna have a holiday here in the US come Monday, and Canada's gonna
Right.
be open, so it's gonna be a kind of a mess. Then we're gonna have a short week, so that means that we're not gonna get the API numbers till Wednesday, and then the EIA numbers till Thursday.
You think they'll get them out this
I
time
think-
around?
Pardon me?
So you think they'll get them out this time around?
I don't know. They haven't got the EIA numbers fixed that I know of.
Right. I
Hopefully
mean,
they'll get. I wonder if the Russians got to their computers there. But
I was going to bring that up if you didn't.
yeah. No, the thing is though, it seems like we're kind of getting into the summer doldrums now, where the big money New York fund managers are going on vacation already, and usually it's in August, but maybe we're getting an early start. And well, plus the fact that we're now kind of in a bear market here, and we're probably going to have a second quarter negative growth, which is going to make an official recession. And so everybody's just kind of sitting on their hands, waiting for their big buying opportunity, which may come in the next month or two, whenever we finally hit bottom, or whenever the Feds decide to pause. You know, that we still probably got another 75 basis point increase coming up. Then after
No
that,
doubt.
they'll probably pause. And so then maybe after that, when they pause, then the market will react and start buying, and then things will start.
I think you characterize the current malaise pretty well. The only thing I guess I would add to that is, you know, somewhat the economists like to call exogenous events. You know, just nothing you can forecast, but you know, things come out of the blue and change the dynamic of the market. You know, we're in such a structural shortage, and I guess I'll advance the slide to, there we go, to kind of pick up what I thought we'd hit on current events, and you've led right into it. That the actual shortage of barrels that the market is going to be looking for is so tight with the supply curve that one little thing could be that exogenous event.
Yeah, and the things, you know, things are so bad there in Europe, you know, with this whole thing with Germany trying to commit suicide. People now are out there buying wood stoves and firewood to get ready for the wintertime, because they don't think that the government's going to save their butt.
Really, I hadn't read that. Makes sense though.
Yeah, no, that's that was on Twitter. So you know, and this whole the Ukraine war is basically lost, but you know, nobody's told Biden about it
Right.
yet. So until he gets the memo and you know, raises the white flag and surrenders like an idiot, you know, it's gonna keep dragging along. But so Russia seems to be doing great. Their stock market is up, or not the stock market, but their bond
Currency,
market is
yeah.
up. They're actually fixing to lower interest rates there in Russia, and the ones that are suffering now are the Europeans, because they're they can't get any natural gas and they can't get any oil from Russia. So their economies are going to suffer big time. So the sooner they get rid of finish the war there in Ukraine and salvage whatever they can salvage. I mean, the more they wait, the less territory they're gonna keep. So just an amazing.
I agree. There's no scenario under which Putin backs off. And he can continue this. I've read and heard that the Russians are running out of ammo. They can't go very much longer. I really don't buy into that.
Yeah, it's probably the opposite. It's all propaganda from our side, which is all wrong.
Exactly. So
too bad.
Yeah, it's a shame, but
you can't trust them.
I was talking to someone, and I guess I was responding to something on LinkedIn that they put up about the war, and I said, it's time the Ukrainians learn the lesson that that the Vietnamese taught us 50 years ago, that when you're faced with a overwhelming foe, and Russia certainly overwhelming, you can't beat them head to head. You have to go into the bush and begin a guerrilla war.
Right.
When I was in the Air Force when they were doing the Rolling Thunder bombing campaign, and I mean it was just nonstop, and we were polarizing, not just the people but the countryside, so they agreed to peace talks. We had the peace talks, struck a peace accord, and in 2 months, the last American plane was leaving Tan Son Nhut with the North Vietnamese forces breaking down the gates.
Wow.
So guerrilla war is pretty effective. Several other, Russia learned that lesson in Afghanistan long before we did. That you cannot beat an indigenous foe who's determined to resist you. So that's kind of the way I see it going. But when does it begin? Is anybody's guess.
Yeah, no, it's Russians basically just pounding them down to the ground, and they're encircling whatever. Actually, many of the Ukrainian forces had to back out and retrieve already, and split the scene and head home or whatever.
Right.
They either run out of fuel or they run out of bullets, and they're run out of whatever spirit to fight, and so they just cut their losses and head
I guess my final thought on Biden and Ukraine is that this gives him a positive narrative. There's really nothing else going right in the administration. So if he keeps funneling weapons over there, it gives him something positive to talk about. And it's about all he has.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, they claim that they send X amount of millions of dollars of weapons, right? Well, you gotta know that 20%, 30% of that is all money laundering. And that's what this whole Ukraine has always been for the Democrats. It's been a money laundering.
Well, that's right. That's right. That opens
up
a whole new can of worms.
They might not even get half of those
fair point.
Guns or whatever that they're sending.
Let's move over and talk about Eric Nuttall's chat with Amrita Sen. I thought that was a very informative. Nuttall is what I would call a perma bull. He sees the sunny side of everything, but he's got a pretty good track record. And this Amrita Sen made, I thought, a pretty compelling case, a structural case for that shortage of barrels that we've been talking about. being the ultimate driver, and led by demand. You know that the economy's recovered here faster than we thought. The summer driving season is upon us. Nobody wants to fly now. I can tell you that I had a trip scheduled to go to Maine in October, and we were going to be flying, and all this brouhaha with the airlines convinced me to go ahead and scrub the trip. Where I live in Mississippi, it's a 6-day drive for me. I can only do about 300 miles a day. So we're not going, and it's strictly down to the airlines. But that's the point of the story is that puts people in their cars. They're going to be driving more places where they might have flown. And then, you know, she had just made that trip to Asia where the economies are just absolutely coming out of the gate.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the whole story is with this airline situation right now, except the fact that they're probably short of fuel, and the fuel, the jet fuel has gone sky high, so they've had to jack up the rates, passenger prices, you know, the rates on the passengers. So, but the thing is, though, even the Delta pilots are striking against the company, and I don't know what the heck that's all about either.
They want more money.
Well, yeah, well, that's true too. But the thing is, though, what I haven't been able to figure out is how many pilots already had to retire because they were forced to take the shot, and basically the shot put them out of business because
Right.
a lot of these pilots didn't want to take the shot because they were afraid they were going to lose their license, their pilot license, because it would mess up their heart. And so there could be a lot of that. A lot of pilots that decided to just retire, you know, because they didn't want to be forced to take the shot. Or a lot of some pilots that did take the shot and now they can't fly because of health reasons. So, but yeah, I heard that they're trying to offer them a lot of money. United and some of the other airlines are having to.
Well, and so you hit on a couple of good points in that regard. Something else that I heard was that with the shutdown back in 2020, a lot of pilots lost their certifications. They have to. There's a pretty tight period where they have to recertify on the aircraft and other things.
Right.
And that chain was broken massively. So that could play into it as well. What I decided for my own old self is I didn't want to be one of those people with my wife sitting in an airline terminal, you know, for a day or more waiting for a flight.
Exactly, because there's been a lot of cancellations, so a lot of people are frustrated that have to fly now.
Exactly.
So maybe they'll go back to doing Zoom calls.
Yeah, exactly. I'll move along to the next chart here. I found this Rystad. It didn't copy very well. I'm a little disappointed in
the picture. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little fuzzy, but basically what the chart is saying is that from all these, you know, key players that produce most of the world's daily output, that in terms of recoverable reserves, we lost 156 billion barrels from the year before. And you know, if you think about it, you know, we should have gained some because oil companies are going back and saying, hey, you know, we wrote down this asset when the oil price was $30. Now it's $100. So we can put that back into recoverable reserves. So you would have thought that there would have been some gain, but we actually lost, and I can't see the percentage, but it was like 9% of global recoverable reserves last year. So,
But they only do,
go
they
ahead.
only do that once a year, so maybe they haven't got around to doing the reserves studies for all the companies or the countries or whatever, right?
Well, maybe this is, I just got this in my inbox. I subscribe to their newsletter,
Right,
and it's for 2022, which is only half over. So
right.
there may be some adjustments to be made, but you know, I don't have any way of checking Rystad data. They're pretty well regarded in the industry. Like, I go to industry events like AEDE and Society of Petroleum Engineers, and the Rystad people are at those events as esteemed colleagues. It's not like they're just showing up to kind of glad hand and sell reports, but so their data is pretty well regarded.
Oh, yeah, and they're not cheap either. If you sign up for their service, costs a ton of money. But no, they're pretty good as far as I know. But I'm a little guy here. I can't subscribe to that.
Well, right. Yeah, when you look at these reports, they're thousands of dollars. I consult with a company that's looking at bringing some new additives to the drilling fluids market, and they have a new product development manager, and I was kind of schooling him in. I've been on this project 4 years as a consultant, and he just hired on. He's a really smart guy. He's a PhD from Harvard, but his whole background is in electrochemical connectors and things like that in the electronics industry. So I'm trying to teach him the oil industry. And I said, well, if you want to take a shortcut, you could go to Rystad, you could go to a couple of other places and buy these research reports. They're probably going to cost you $10,000. And that, I think, kind of put him off. But he's working for a multi-billion-dollar company. I can't disclose who they are, but they're a Fortune 500 company. They got money to spend, but it's kind of interesting. But anyway, all right.
Well, wait a minute.
Go ahead.
So, speaking about reserves falling, so the Russians are going to probably start seeing some reserves falling off next year with all the color companies, the Halliburton and Schlumberger all leaving, and the drillers, some of the frackers leaving there too.
It should start showing up. You're right.
So how long do you think it's going to take? I mean, I don't know if these Russians are as smart as the Chinese, but the Chinese basically own this country. They bought every damn politician that we have.
Well, that's right.
The university that we have. So how long do you think it's going to take for these Russians to come over here under different name, change their Russian name, make an American name, and just say, hey, I want to hire you as my consultant, and start doing some, consulting on the side there to try to teach them how to keep their wells going.
Well, so they have a lot of institutional knowledge. I used to travel to Russia on teaching assignments. I've probably made between 2010 and 2013, I made 8 or 10 trips to Russia to teach Russian engineers certain aspects of drilling fluids. They're a smart bunch of cookies. So they have the institutional knowledge. What they lack are the resources that Schlumberger and Halliburton.
Yeah, or the incentive. They lack the incentive probably too, but they're probably gonna need some hand holding. I mean, otherwise, why would they still have the major international outfits like Halliburton and Schlumberger still there?
Right.
But on their own.
Well, kind of the way it works, Al, is if you want to use, let's pick Schlumberger since they have a bigger footprint in Russia than anybody else.
Okay.
So if you want to use some of their equipment or some of their service, then you're going to need a Schlumberger rep to tell you how to apply it or how to run it. These are not things that even a really smart guy with a lot of experience can just go pick up. The software engineering programs they have, those are centrally controlled. The licenses get turned off. They're no good, and there's no fallback. These oil companies rely on these technology, and then the field service that comes with installing tools, running fluids. It's just part of the process. So your original point is very well taken, in that with these big colors pulling out of Russia, you're going to start to see declines in Russian output.
And all that stuff is rented also, right? It's not like you can buy the technology and the software and just keep it for say 5-10 years or whatever. It's a month-to-month deal.
It's a monthly rental, yeah.
Yeah. So as soon as they pull out, you lose all the stuff that you spent all these years working on.
Exactly. So it's going to have an impact. It's not having an impact yet, but I think as
But
winter approaches the northern hemisphere.
It makes you wonder, though, how come the Russians haven't been able to copy all that? If there would have been the Chinese, they would have copied all that already, and they, be selling out there, underpricing the color outfits,
Well, that's right. It's a fair point. I mean, I think the answer would be like, there's a Schlumberger program that I'm familiar with called Petrel, and it's a geological modeling program.
Right.
That's so sophisticated, and it's so, you have to have so many. The machine that it's run on has to be registered with Schlumberger Central. You need logins. There's just no way, short of taking screenshots and trying to duplicate it, that you could come close.
Yeah, you would think that they'd be able to reverse engineer a lot of that stuff, but whatever. But just a thought. I mean, you think if the Chinese would have done it, I'm sure.
Well, that reverse engineering sometimes is easier said than done. In my division of Schlumberger, we had some modeling programs that oil companies offered us millions of dollars to get a copy of it.
Right.
And we said no thanks, because those engineering programs drive sales, and so they're pretty tightly held.
But then, just on I'm keep thinking of different stuff. So a Schlumberger employee is worth a ton of money, and if they get pissed off or something, they want to go sell themselves out to the Chinese or the Russians. Schlumberger has to be worried about, hey, how do we protect our copyrighted stuff? That our employees don't start rattling.
Yeah. Once again, big blues ahead of you. So you have programs that prevent downloading any data from your computer to a flash drive. They can tell instantly if you try and do it. So the thought that you can pirate data out of Schlumberger, you might as well put that behind you.
Yeah, so they've thought about all this stuff.
Yeah, they have. They're a pretty smart bunch.
Right.
Even if they are a French company, which I should. Anyway, let's move on to the company of the week. We talked a bit about Marathon Oil.
Right.
What did you think of my write-up on Marathon?
Well, I think it made a lot of sense. The thing is, though, whoever buys them or tries to buy them, they're going to get penalized by the market, because they're going to, do the same thing they did with Whitecap. So what the heck are you doing out there, going on buying somebody else out there now, when you should be giving us back dividends and share buybacks and special
Right.
dividends and all that stuff. But,
Yeah, so I wasn't
theoretically, it
thinking
makes
so
sense.
much about the idea of them as a takeout. That was just pure toffee pudding, ruminating on my part, somebody who I follow, he spends a lot of time on LinkedIn. He's a pretty smart guy, ex-oily David Ramsden Wood. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but
I think so. Yeah, maybe.
yeah, he made a comment that Devon should take out Marathon. And I thought, well, I'll just start looking at stuff. And that was really the genesis of that deal. But it may never happen. Although I think Marathon is just a little small. Their daily output is on the order of 350,000 barrels. So they're not tiny,
Right.
but they're not like Devon or EOG up there around 1 million barrels a day. I just think they're ripe for consolidation. But if it never happens, you're looking at a 30% sell-off at current prices and a lot of cash flow drivers to stay long in that stock. They have they're absolutely going to rain cash flow in the next. So many companies are, but it struck me that at a 30% discount, and that price, price matters too, right? I mean, Devon is still $55 a share. Well, you can buy 2.5 of Marathon and get, pretty much the same deal that Devon is offering you. Now that's a little simplistic, but it's easier to buy Marathon than it is Devon, was my point.
Right. No, the thing is, though, eventually, theoretically, it would make sense to see further consolidation and these bigger ones getting bigger, because an outfit like Marathon is probably going to have a harder time trying to compete with some of the bigger ones.
That kind of feeds in. Somebody needs to buy them.
Right.
Yeah. Well, anyway, and I guess probably next week, we'll look at a Canadian company that the Canadian companies have all shrunk as well, but they started from a lower base. So, for example, the company we looked at the other day, can't think of the name of it right now. What company? Oh, Whitecap. Yeah. So Whitecap, they're down 30% to single digits. Their daily output is over 100,000 barrels a day. They have a pretty good footprint, and picking up that XTO acreage is going to put a real shine on their cash flow. So I see those companies bouncing back probably faster than the shale companies.
Yeah, and when you think about it, this Whitecap is more or less kind of, Whitecap and Crescent Point been kind of, running side by side. There used to be large mid-cap names.
Yeah.
So Crescent Point last year, they bought the Shell operation out there, the nat gas operations, and just
right.
like Whitecap just bought the XTO operation. So the Whitecap, it's almost like they try to copy or trying to keep up with Crescent Point. A lot of people say Crescent Point now is still a good deal price-wise, and then trades in New York, which Crescent Point has had the New York listing for a long time.
That's an advantage over Whitecap. Yeah.
Yeah, and Whitecap is going to have to grow up here and eventually get a, and because there's an NYSE American listing, which is like a NASDAQ, but it's with 3 letters, and it costs a lot less than a full-blown NYSE listing. And they could go that route, because Obsidian, which is much smaller, now has a 3-letter ticker symbol in the US. It's NYSE American listing. And so now you're seeing the volumes grow a lot more because now fund managers here in the US, are able to buy the stock where, normally they wouldn't be buying a 5-letter stock to put in their funds or whatever. And plus they're going to start a dividend. Or they started a dividend already or whatever. I can't remember now.
Yeah, it's been a while since I looked at Crescent Point. I think.
Yeah, no, Crescent Point is a pretty good name to own, just like
Yeah.
So.
All right, let's move on to what obviously coming up will be a short week. I think the thing that will drive the oil price will be the storage reports. Really nothing I can think of coming up this week that would push them out of the way. Hopefully the EIA can get one out.
Right. They get their computers fixed.
Yeah, so in terms of big news bombshells, there's really nothing short of the storage report that I can see it's going to be particularly instructive to the market, which probably means that, until then, and absent a big gain or a big draw, that we stay in the same trading range this week. What do you think?
Yeah, it just depends on what comes out of Europe also. You never know, something weird can come out of there and change things around. But
Yeah,
the OPEC monthly meetings and all that report or whatever, that's gonna be more of the same. But there's a lot of deals going on as far as now refined products from India having to travel all the way up to Europe. They don't want to buy from the Russians refined products. So all they end up doing is creating more pollution, I guess, if you want to call it that, with the ships having to travel longer miles to deliver the same product. So
yeah.
But no, it was nice to see also this a couple days ago, I think, or yesterday, I posted this video on the refinery that they're building in Mexico. It's going to be a huge thing, and at least they're investing in that. They're not buying this crap about this green energy and
Yeah. Well, of course they have an economic driver. I think Petróleos Mexicanos is like 20% of their economy.
Well, Pemex, yeah. Well, but
Pemex,
the thing is, though, it's just too bad that it's just like anything that it's run by the state is so corrupt, and they actually have a lot of their oil and gasoline being stolen from their pipelines. People just drill a hole in their pipeline.
Hey, yeah, people are going to be doing it here, man.
Yeah, that's true.
It's on the horizon.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Crazy.
I think that wraps us up, big guy. You got anything else?
No, that's about it. Oh, okay. We got still 3 minutes. Yeah. Wow.
Couple minutes, yeah.
No, that's about it. I think we'll just keep posting stuff away there.
Sounds good.
It's out on the chat there.
Have a good 4th tomorrow, big guy.
Okay, I will. Going next door to my neighbor here, gonna cook some burgers. Actually,
that sounds good to me.
I got 3 pounds of ground meat for free from Walmart because they put it in with my order by mistake.
Whoa. Party at Al's house.
3 pounds, yeah. So I call them up and they say, "Oh, just keep it or throw it away. We can't take it back," which I kind of makes sense. Their mistake. $12.50 worth of hamburger meat I got.
Nice.
So,
all right, Al.
All right, have a good one
later on this week.
Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye bye.
All right, bye.